We have had 2 successive Politburo meetings. Both of them went late into the night. Yesterday we finished at 11. The previous day we finished at 9. Yeah, I've always highlighted that Zanu PF is a structured party with a history, and that we take the business of ruling the people of Zimbabwe seriously. And that the people of Zimbabwe expect no less from a political party which is committed to their welfare. We have a history of commitment to them. We organize them to be who they are today, and they reciprocated during the People's War, and after that by supporting the party. We are the first revolutionary movement from ballot to office, not bullet to office. So the democratic aspect is very strong in Zanu PF. We take the vote very seriously. That's why we have long meetings as a Politburo to look at things which concern the welfare of the people of Zimbabwe. And because we don't shy away from being candid with each other, we actually take so long time to debate. We will not be shouting at each other. We will be applying our minds to the task at hand. This is in contrast to another party which does not want structures, which does not want organization, which does not want ideology, which does not want constitution. Because you know why they are avoiding that? Because each time they try to have any of those things, they can't come to a meeting of the minds amongst themselves, because they have no particular obligation to the people of Zimbabwe except to the foreigners who tend to sponsor them. So because they are afraid of continuously going through the alphabet, fracturing and putting acronyms to different tendencies which come out of their party, they don't want organization, they don't want constitution, they don't want structures, they don't want anything, because they are afraid that they will be punching each other during those meetings. And if they are not punching each other, it means they are also going to register new parties. So in order to hide the prospect of division, they then don't want to meet like we do. Actually, I was reading the other day somebody who tried to justify the behavior of the Triple C, saying that they are trying to do guerrilla warfare politics. You listen to that. This party is founded by guerrillas, fighting asymmetrical warfare against the Rhodesians. Guerrilla warfare is in our blood. How Chamisa can try today to say I'm avoiding all these things because I'm sneaking and ducking and diving, so that is unpaved. No, you are sneaking and ducking and diving away from the people of Zimbabwe because you don't want to be accountable. And for that reason, come 2023, we are going to make sure that he loses on a scale which even Muzorewa did not experience in 1980. It will be a landslide. We are very sure about that. We told you that we are retooling our organs of the party. You will be happy to know that last night we finished the final steps in retooling the Central Committee of the party. The Central Committee is the supreme decision-making of the party, an interface between the leadership and the people between congresses. So it acts on behalf of the people when people are not in Congress, like we are going to be doing in the next 3 weeks. So yesterday we finished. Tomorrow there will be elections. There have been a lot of rumors, there have been a lot of disinformation, there have been a lot of insinuations about divisions within our party. We actually want to assure you that the Central Committee elections are going to be conducted in the most harmonious of atmosphere, in the most consensual building, but also in the most democratic of manner tomorrow. We have used the party machinery to make sure that we are on the same path as a party with a record of organization and discipline and respect for traditions of the revolution, and also deferring to the democratic ethos, which is the basis of our assumption of power in 1980. I repeat, we came by ballot to office. Even though we were on the verge of bullet to office, we still went with the democratic tradition. So DNA of democracy runs within Zanu PF. That's why we are very scornful that we can be taught democracy by the West, because they denied us when they were in charge of this country. So please be assured the elections tomorrow will be very successful. We will come out of it with a very strong central committee leadership ready to serve the people. It will be very loyal to our president and to the party. And we have no divisions at the top which are purported to be this or that. And most of the things which you hear coming out about Zanu PF, they don't come from within the party. We went through that agenda yesterday. And everybody was here to speak his mind. Nowhere did we hear of secret agreements in 2017 about this or that, because in Zanu PF, we don't run it as a secret society. We are not a mafia party. If there are any agreements which may be reached by individuals within the party, they've got to be presented to the electorate, which is the people who are the supporters of the party. And the Central Committee has got to debate those issues, and resolutions have got to be taken by the Central Committee so that the Politburo can take due guidance from those. So we do not run Zanu PF on the basis of secret agreements. It's not possible. How do you have a party which was spread throughout the whole country by voluntary people willing to die for it? Then you say you are running it as a secret society. It can't. It's not possible, because vanhu vaifa voluntarily kuti tiri kuda nyika yedu. And to die, if you are prepared to voluntarily die for your country, it means you have got a consensual approach to what is going on, to the point that you sacrifice your life willingly. Then you say that party has now become a secret society. No, we don't. There are no secret agreements in Zanu PF. They all come to the Politburo and presented to the Central Committee and taken to the membership, and then we take a position. We are not a party of conspirators. We are a party which is accountable to the people. The last people who tried to make this a party of conspirators were the G40s and the Gamma Talks. And we ejected them precisely because they wanted to make a conspiracy to create a monarchy and a dynasty out of the Mugabe family. Because we are an accountable party. So I repeat, the elections will be done well. We are now putting the nail on the most important institution of the party. All the organs are in place. So the machinery of elections has been retooled. We are going to endorse our president as the sole candidate, because that is what has come from the organs of the party. Our democracy comes from building up at grassroots level. It is not top down, it's bottom up. So we are going to the Congress and endorse our candidate, and thereafter we oil the machinery for the elections. And one of the oiling of the machinery of the elections was done yesterday when the president went to groundbreaking on a project which you saw yourself was already 40% complete. People who say we don't keep promises. The president did not want to go and do a groundbreaking of the bush, because there would have been many comments from you to say, oh, those mega projects are bigger again and Zanu PF is lying, hey, this and that. Since May last year, when this project was started, we've been busy building what you saw yesterday. That project is 40% complete. Next year, as you heard in the second half, we will have Zimbabwe join the ranks of the major steel producers, first on the African continent by the first phase, but rapidly become among the top 5 to 8 countries in the whole world producing steel. And you know that steel is the staple of development. If you don't have steel, your development path is tortuous and expensive. We now have steel. And there will be a byproduct of cement, because the limestone which will be used to clean the iron off of sulfur will also come out as clinker to make cement. So we'll have the largest cement plant in Africa. Mr. Dancote, watch out what's going to happen in Zimbabwe. We will be a major cement producer. This is what Manise does, apart from the fact that we are going to be producing our own cars, because all cars are made of carbon steel. Carbon steel is made from ferrochrome. Carbon steel is used for construction. Carbon steel is construction of houses, construction of buildings, construction of cars. So this is what we will be producing as a country. And we'll be producing for the world market, world-class products made by Zimbabweans for the world market. It also means that we shall be recruiting our diaspora back, because they are the only ones who have lived in societies and jurisdictions where they have mastered some of the technology which is this top-class company is going to be giving to Zimbabwe Tsingshan. It is not where it is by chance. They fought hard to be where they are. So they pay the best, they recruit the best, they research the best, and they produce the best. And we will be scouting for our diaspora to meet with our locals to upgrade the skills level to a global standard. So this is what the president did, and we hailed our president yesterday for announcing boldly to Africa that the kingdom of Mlutapa is moved back to the past of the glory of the great Zimbabweans and the great kings, but with a modern aspect, with a modern dimension. The other issue is that we have had our press conference from our, he has given you a list of names of the people, who made it, and those who, and I think I should read those names. Yeah, the adjustments. I would read those who qualified so that it helps clear the air. Manar Mots in Bulawayo was disqualified. Masvingo province. Jabulani Mbetu qualified. Muchareve Chamisa qualified. And here it is very important for you to, in Zanu PF, we don't look at relatives. We look at allegiance to the party. The fact that you may have a name Chamisa who may be in the opposition, and your son may be driving for him, and Chamisa may go and drink with you and have breakfast with you, and it does not matter to us. If you are loyal and you like the party, we are not prejudiced by some of those things, because we are all Zimbabweans. So we actually, the Women's League is particularly happy with Muchareva Chamisa as a political commissar of the Women's League. So maybe Chamisa can come and learn one or two things from Zanu PF. That each time you are challenged, you don't kick people out. You don't kick people out. You must be able to accommodate. That's what we do. And we take credentials in uniting all Zimbabweans, regardless of family differences. Matabele North, Chacha Muguni qualified. Nyakuwara Alec disqualified. Mat South, Sibanda Nyararai qualified. Midlands Flora Buka qualified. She used to go with the NPF. long time ago, and that she decided to come back to the party. We are happy with that. People come in, people come out, people come mistake. So we are a fungible party. We allow in and outside movement, and we don't penalize people out of historical record. We have Simbi qualified, Comrade Simbi qualified, Makomo qualified, Mutukwa qualified, Mabiza qualified, in Mashonaland West, Tapera Table disqualified, Terence Mkupe disqualified. Qualified, it's a mistake. I was in the meeting. Qualified, Terence Mkupe qualified. He used to be a deputy minister of finance of the president. Bright Matonga qualified. Manicaland, she was qualified.
Okay.
Yeah. Patricia, did they say she was qualified?
Okay.
Patricia Kushande. Yeah, we need to go and then Munoda Wafa qualified, Zanenamo Banganisai qualified, Ray Machingura qualified, Shido Madiwa qualified. Yes. Yes. Then there are some Manicaland people who were qualified because they came from Zanu Ndonga, and they are now our candidates. You remember, the Banning story was made a hero. So, what's his name again?
Wilson Kumbula.
Kumbula was qualified. And 2 or 3 others who were coming from Ndonga, they were qualified. Mash East, Makwiranzo disqualified. Kanisio Dengu withdrew. Christopher Chungwaru withdrew in Mashonaland Central. George Makunde was disqualified. Harare, Chimini disqualified. Chuma disqualified. Obey, Taronga, Mapik disqualified. We will have our theme of the Congress this year. Where's the theme? The theme of the Congress will be building a prosperous Zimbabwe, leaving no one and no place behind. That is going to be the theme of the conference this year. It resonates with the message of our president. He has been covering every aspect of Zimbabwe on a punishing tour of the country. He has been to Binga, a once neglected place, so many times. And the community radios have been deployed to make sure that all the languages now get full play. And projects like Mchabezi are being done to address age-old water problems and creating belts of green in Matebeleland North. We are addressing the perception that Matebeleland was being neglected. We are going to the people in Kanyemba. We are doing the same. A lot was being done in Kanyemba to make sure that that original home of the armed struggle in the 1969-70 Northeast Offensive now feels part of Zimbabwe. A lot is going to happen in Gaza and bordering regions of Mozambique, primarily because the production of steel at Manize will entail exports. A lot of that steel is for export. It's not for consumption. We're going to be selling steel to America. We'll be selling steel to the EU. We'll be selling steel. So we need ports. And the easiest access ports are Maputo and probably a new port at Chongweni on the mouth of the Limpopo. Our 2 governments are busy working at that. It opens up that whole area in the Lowveld of the Changani people. I was in the war. Tongogara actually lost no time in creating a Changani battalion because we wanted to deploy them at the border to make sure that we keep the South Africans away from coming to help Ian Smith. So these are patriots of Zimbabwe. They go back to Ngungunyana and they deserve to be recognized for their patriotic endeavor to make Zimbabwe free. So I'm just underscoring the message of the president that no region is being left behind. And I think you also saw what happened recently in Bight Bridge. Bight Bridge the vendor, the people saw they are now having the most modern border post in Africa. This is the busiest commerce route on the African continent in terms of value. So we saw what is happening there. So every effort is being put by the president to make sure that all the regions are included. And the issuing of title deeds also means that the people in urban areas are going to enjoy property rights. I always find it bizarre that the MDC want property rights for land which was reclaimed from the whites, so that they can have a right to buy it back under title deeds. But they've never championed title deeds for people in urban areas, which is the work of the indigenous people after so many years of hard work. I would have thought that's what would be preoccupied. But no, they want anything which can try to give erstwhile colonizers a chance to repossess our land. They don't want anything which endorses our people's rights to property which they are entitled to because of their hard work as they built in urban areas. So this is the inclusive agenda of the president. You will know that the president was abroad after 2 years of absence from the United Nations because of COVID. It was a roaring success for Zimbabwe. We had all the African countries endorsing the position of the late President Magufuli that sanctions must go. It came from the chairman of the OIU. It came from the most important country on the continent in terms of economic capacity, South Africa. It came from all the leaders of SADC. It came from all the progressive community. So our position now enjoys near total success with the world community, except for those countries which feel that they want to lord over other nations, like the United States. We had the American ambassador in South Africa waxing lyrical about defending sanctions, saying they are selective, they are this. Look, I think his name is Ruben Briggett. He is actually an African-American with an ambassador to South Africa, Ruben Briggett. You know, there was a time during the civil rights era of the 1960s and 70s, when even you were black, you still felt the identity of Africa as being more important to yourself than the policy of the United States. And we had a particularly poignant performance in 1977 at the anti-apartheid conference in Maputo, when the then United Nations ambassador of the United States was Andrew Young, who later on became the mayor of New York. This was an anti-apartheid conference, and America was supporting white colonial rule under the famous National Security Memorandum of I think it's 1969 of Kissinger, to say Southern Africa must be kept for white people, and whatever America must do must maintain the dominance of whites. This is an American National Security Memorandum from 1969. So Andrew Young now is the ambassador of the United States, and is black and is from the civil rights movement. He is leading an anti-apartheid conference in Maputo. So he has got an official speech saying we must support apartheid states of Zimbabwe, of Rhodesia, Namibia, South Africa. Yet he is a civil rights leader. And you know what he did? He says, I have two speeches here. I will speak one as an African American. I am opposed to apartheid. Here is my speech. Afterwards, I will put the speech of my country on the table because it supports apartheid and my conscience cannot allow it. And if President Carter wants to fire me for that, so be it. I would have thought that there will still be honor of that magnitude by a black American, an Afro-American president. When all Africa has spoken on an issue, and we are the majority who have remained, of course there are derivatives from slavery across the Atlantic, but the majority of the Africans are in Africa. I would have thought that he would have respected that position and at least either remained mute, but to go and wax lyrical about defending sanctions by an African-American ambassador in South Africa is not something which the civil rights movement of the 1960s and 70s would have countenanced. And remember, our struggles coalesced. That's why Martin Luther King is a hero. That's why Malcolm X is our hero. We have that transatlantic bond which has withstood the time of slavery. So America's position is untenable, and their ambassador in South Africa made it only worse by fighting against his fellow African brethren who had spoken out loud and clear at the United Nations against sanctions. The president had a lot of engagements in New York by billionaires. I've said it before, God has been generous to Zimbabwe. Our resource base makes us top in 7 to 8, if not 10 items of demand in world commerce, in world business. And because these resources are so good, those who are enterprising businessmen on the global stage, they would like to take an opportunity to invest in Zimbabwe. And they were being discouraged, one, by sanctions, but two, by the harebrained policies of the First Republic with indigenization and a lot of nonsense from economic illiterates who were the stock in trade of Mugabe's cabinet. Now, under President Mnangagwa, Open for Business has opened new vistas. So a lot of billionaires were in New York. It means our resources are attracting the deserved attention of those with the best capital, the best technology, the best proven products on the global stage, and the best expertise to actually exploit those resources. Now, this is a recipe for Zimbabwe to prosper, because when you marry the best capital to the best resource and the best brains on the African continent, you can be sure that we will succeed as a country. There is nothing to stop us from being modern, and that's what we are moving towards as a country. Unfortunately, that is not being echoed by the opposition, which is floundering all over the place. Now you saw what they did. They decided to become the spokesperson of Buckingham Palace through a fake letter written on behalf of Charles III, the Queen of England, saying that our president was not invited. And the British ambassador had to say, you are lying. You know, this is like Muroya no batamai, mwana no chaganganga no batamai uroi. They thought they were trying to fix Zanu PF. They ended up offending the British ambassador. So, you see, what goes around comes around. If you are a part of false flags, like the MDC, always claiming that you are the victim when you have engineered situations where you have actually concocted those situations, it catches up with you now. Now nobody believes them, even the British embassy. So who will believe them? You think the voter of Zimbabwe will believe such a party? No. That's where they are going to lose come 2023, because they are a party of dishonesty. They don't take the business of ruling the people of Zimbabwe seriously. Yes, we will make sure that farmers who have done us good with wheat production to the tune of 13 months supply, a record in Zimbabwe, the harvest is going on, they will be paid in US dollars, and they will be paid on time. And incidentally, if you realize something which has been happening in our economy, I'll give you something which makes you understand basic finance. If it's very cold in winter, you can take a bucket and you use nails, and you punch holes through it. Then you put charcoal inside or coals inside. You eat mbaura. Then you enjoy warmth because it is very cold. But if you use the same mbaura when it is very hot to try to draw water from the well and drink, you will always be thirsty because the water will leak before it comes to you. Now, this is what has been happening with our economy. We were being drained of our US dollars, even when we are the major exporter, when we export more than Kenya. How is it possible that a Kenya with a bigger population is a stable currency, and we with a smaller population, we export more than Kenya? We have no stable currency. Somebody was gaming the system. So under President Mnangagwa, mbaura yakaiswa mtovu. The bucket is now all insulated. It's well, there's no way it can leak, the bucket. All the holes have been plugged. So we are beginning to accumulate enough US dollars to the point where our currency is becoming stable. So this is very smart economic management by our president. Because your money is not losing value anymore when you are asleep. And it has been going on for weeks. And this will not be lost to our electorate, because what makes us relate to each other as Zimbabweans is our currency. If our currency is unstable, we cannot relate properly to each other. So we must give thumbs up to the president. And these are the things which we will be selling to the electorate, to say for the first time in the history of the country, we have restored gold as an indicator, a measure of our currency, back to the days of Changamire and Munumtapa, when gold was the currency. We have removed the colonial era, when fiat money was the currency, and fiat money dictated by the United States. We are getting away from that. This is a big success for President Mnangagwa and his dream team, economic team. Pam to him that our currency is beginning to stabilize, and with it, there is a pumping economy. Do you remember the last time there was a queue for fuel in this country? It looks like it was ages ago. And no matter how many cars are on the road, you know, I was trying, of course, I was late from my granddaughters, but I couldn't make it here because of traffic. There's so much traffic, and there is no way. Every other place now is a service station. Everybody, and the fuel is not, there's no shortage. These are palpable successes which the Zimbabwean people feel. That's why there is hope in our economy. So we want to thank President Mnangagwa for the fantastic work which he has done in stabilizing our economy, in making sure that there is certainty in our currency, and generally in restoring the can-do spirit among Zimbabweans. And this is the basis of our manifesto when we go to the Congress. And out of that Congress will come a manifesto which we sell to the Zimbabwean, and we are there to sell a very important commodity which has been the staple of Zanu PF. Even when we were fighting, we fought on hope. Even when we were dying on hope. We have restored hope to the people of Zimbabwe. And even those who are not out in diaspora, they will be surprised the diaspora shall come back home. It's coming back home in big numbers. Have you ever been to northern suburbs on a Sunday? You look like in North London. The whole white population is coming back. Where they were one house in Highlands, they are now 7. They've destroyed the original family home and built 7 detached ones. 4 for rent, 2 for the family. These are the whites who are coming. If you have got your white population who are citizens of this country, who left 3 generations ago, who left 3 decades ago coming back home, it's a good measure of confidence, because we are not a racist country. They are coming back because home is better. So Zanu PF sells hope. And on that good note, we will be celebrating hope when we have a party for our trip to Manise yesterday. That will be the part of hope. On that note, I want to end up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Spokesperson, for that. While waiting for questions, I just felt the spokesperson may need just to brief you on the deliberations on constitutional amendment, which will be tabled to the Congress without going into detail. Over to you, spokesperson.
Yes, we went, again, like I say, we take the business of our ruling the people of Zimbabwe very seriously. One of the items which took a very long time yesterday was the amendments to the Constitution. There are a raft of amendments, and all of them are were mainly directed, one, at making the party more democratic, more inclusive. Two, strengthening the structures of the party with the introduction, in particular, of the Veterans League, which is now a part of the organs to complete our historical organs in the party. There are other issues, but constitutional issues, you see, they tend, I don't want you, it's Friday, I don't want to make you go through the tedium, but if you would end.
It's just brief.
Yeah. Yeah, they just basically, yeah, we were reinforcing the revolutionary ethos of the party, and deepening our our democratic credentials, our intra-party democratic credentials. We have done away with certain things like summary votes of no confidence, which can be abused for vindictive purposes. We don't feel that an elected person should just be removed like that. But we are making sure that we create conflict resolution mechanisms within the party so that we do not fall prey to the fractious tendency which has afflicted our upstart opposition parties, because they have no tradition. So we are building upon our tradition of consensus building, of conflict resolution, and of correct handling of differences or contradictions among people who share a common cause. If we share a common cause, we should be able to find ground. But in the MDC, the only the common cause they share is that Zanu PF must go, we must go to State House. How we should go there, nobody knows, unless we go for sanctions from Americans or we go for American money. Who should go there and in what position, nobody knows. Under what policies anybody should go to State House, nobody knows. Under what record of performance you want to go to the State House, nobody questions. You are given a chance to run urban areas. There are cesspits of human misery for 2 decades. You don't even try to attract business people.
True.
I keep on repeating. Our president yesterday was with the top businessmen of steel in the whole world. That company is #1 in the whole world. I've yet to see Chamisa with a businessman of any repute by his side. Not only Chamisa, but the MDC mayors for 2 decades in power. I've never seen an MDC mayor cut a ribbon of a factory. Instead, they are advocating for stairways so that factories can collapse. Now, do you see the paradox which is now happening? Because of the new investment by companies from China, from India, from everywhere, the trade unions want to organize. And who wants to go and organize ZCTU? Now, new capital, which has come into this country, is where you want to go and organize. But old capital, which was in this country, you allow them to stay away until they got broke and their companies collapsed. And when they collapsed, you lost membership because you cannot organize workers if they are not at the workshop floor. They need to be in a factory. So why do you want to organize workers from Chinese and Indian investors and Turkish investors when you destroyed American companies, American associated companies with your stayaways and everything? You don't want workers to work, so why do you want to go to companies which want workers to work and organize? So you want to go with your pernicious doctrine again, which becomes the basis of forming an opposition party instead of dealing with workers' welfare. So I think we are telling the workers to be very wary of any organization which comes from an attempted organization from the ZCTU, because we formed them as Zanu PF. They were not there in colonial times. After forming them, they did not decide to serve the workers. They decided to go to State House through Trangirai and the MDC. Now they failed. Now we are growing the economy. Now they want to go again. How do we trust people who are like that with organizing? Maybe they need to disband. Otherwise, what we are advocating is completely new unions which respect that it's proper for companies to be performing so that the workers' welfare can be taken by performing companies. If companies are not performing and business are collapsing, then there cannot be any welfare of the workers. Then there will be an informal economy. Then you can't organize workers. So, again, I said it. That's what the ZCTU did. Atiskuwada kuma new workers, kuma new investors, because they will take the old habits and destroy the harmonious working relationship between workers and investors, and destroy the economy as a way to try to create discontent, which they then form which they use as a crucible for the basis of forming a party which goes to State House. Because their quest is for power, not for an economy, not for democracy, not for structures, not for policies. I think.